Hello, everybody, and welcome. So, my name is Kate Shaw, and welcome to So You Want to Be a Scientist. So, this is an event as part of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Thank you so much for joining. This has been organized by ICTP, and it is part of the ICTP Science Global Portal, which I'm sure you're all members of. So thank you very much for joining. We have a wonderful panel with us today who are going to talk with us. So we'd like to start off with some very brief introductions. Maybe we could start with you, Lucia.
Hey, hello. I am Lucía Mariel. I am happy to be here. Thank you for your invitation. I am a proud representative from Guatemala, a medical physicist, an early career researcher, a mother, and of course, an advocate for women in science.
Perfect, thank you. And Nana?
Hello, I'm Nana, Geraldine Cabo Bizet. I'm from Latin America as well. I'm from Cuba, from Havana, and I'm a theoretical physicist. I work in string theory, so a theory that tries to search for a good quantum gravity description and to unify fundamental forces. I'm a professor at the University of Guanajuato, and I have studied first in Havana and then in Europe, and now I work here in Mexico.
Thank you, Nana. And finally, Zainab.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Kate and all. Thank you very much for inviting me for this event. I'm very happy, and I congratulate the International Day of Girls and Women in Science. I'm Zainab Nazari. I'm originally from Afghanistan. I was born in Afghanistan, and when I was 3 years old, my family moved to Iran. So I had my education in physics, and then I had moved to Italy, and I was participating in Diploma program and many other programs. I also had my PhD joined at ICTP and Boğaziçi University in Turkey. I had some training on master in high performance computing in ICTP and CISA, and then I moved to bioinformatics. Currently, I'm a postdoctoral researcher in European Research Institute in Rome, and I'm very happy to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Zainab, and thank you so much to all the panel for being with us today. So just to let you know, we are going to take questions throughout the session. You should be able to find your chat. So there is an icon at the bottom that says chat, and I'll just put a message in there now. So please do write questions throughout the session. I will try to ask them when I can to the panel. And you are also invited to react to things with your emojis. You have some hearts, some thumbs up, anything you'd like to put forward there would be great. So let's kick off maybe with Nana. So I'd like to ask you, Nana, first of all, I'd like to ask all the panelists who their main role model is. So could you tell us who your role model is, and then tell us a bit about your pathway, Nana, into physics? We might have lost Nana very briefly, so I'm going to zip over to Zainab, if you don't mind. Zainab, telling us who is your role model and what is your pathway through to science?
Hello, everybody, again. I would say that I particularly didn't have any role model when I started my education. I have been always enjoying science, but particularly math, because of its beautiful structure and the precisions that it always inspired me. And I had a very different and I would say very sort of path that will take me from mathematics, physics to computational, and then bioinformatics. And I'm very grateful to have such a path that I could explore science in many aspects. So basically, I had my education when I was in Iran, and then I was very lucky to be attend the diploma program in ICTP. I was majored in particle physics initially, and then when I came to ICTP, I did the high energy physics, theoretical high energy physics in diploma program, and then I moved again to high energy physics as a PhD student when I was in Turkey, in Istanbul, Boğaziçi University. I started working initially on supergravity, and then I slightly moved towards other topics like integrability, and then eventually I worked on some abstract models in supergravity, like simulating some pseudo-particles in the early universe. And through that, I was able to improve my computational skill. And I also, towards the end of my PhD, I started attending the high-performance computing in ICTP. It's a very compact and useful program which strengthens your skills in computational. And I knew that very much hard is that to continue the very theoretical high energy physics if I want to stay in Europe, because I wanted to stay in Europe for the life. And I decided to move a little bit about computational. And since I was involved on advocating science for Afghanistan women through ICTP Physics Without Frontiers, etc., I was informed with a fellowship that I could do some research on the bioinformatics lab of European Brain Research Institute. So I moved there and I start my work on analyzing data of neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's disease and related. And through this, I was able to explore science through biology. So I have a wide view towards science, from abstract theoretical physics to hands-on on topics like biology and neuroscience. And throughout my career, I've been always inspired by many scientists around me, whether they were colleagues or they were scientists that I was reading about them. So I had never a particular role model in my life, but I had always a strong interest on learning about any scientists that have significant contribution in science. And I'm now very happy that I'm still in this path and here to be with you.
Thanks, Zainab. And can I just have a quick follow-up question? What was the most exciting thing that's happened to you in your research career so far?
I think for any scientist, the most exciting thing is when you work on a particular problem for a long time and eventually you get the result. And that's very exciting for anyone who is in this path. Also, the fact that you meet very outstanding scientists and people around you, both from the scientific point of view and also the personality, which the academic path will help you to meet these people and learn from them.
Love that. Thanks so much, Zainab. So let's go over to Lucía. So Lucía, the same question. I want to know about your role models growing up and and learn about your science pathway.
Well, I'm similar to Zainab in the sense that I don't have a specific role model, but just many who have influenced me. But I began my journey actually because of the Mayan civilization. When I went to Tikal and I saw the pyramids and learned about the Mayan calendar and all what they did in astronomy was just amazing. That I went over there a trip with my family. I was 9 years old. I was, wow, this is really amazing. So how do I study astronomy? Through physics. Okay, and this is how I decided to get into physics in the National University in Guatemala. The problem is that once you get into physics, and physics is everywhere, you just like so many things. But one thing I did not like was medical physics at the moment, and I really was not into that. And when I graduated, I became a science teacher at an all-girls high school, and I just wanted to keep encouraging girls into science and see that as the path that they could own, actually. But then I had the opportunity I wanted to work in the field, and there was actually an opportunity to work in medical physics. And I got to get some encouragement. And then I saw what really medical physics was, how medical physicists work behind the scenes in health work, how they are doing everything to have a safe use of radiation, how we can do precise cancer treatments and diagnostics, and how physics can help people. I was sold. And this is where I found my passion, even though I was kind of running away from it. So it's like you never know. But since Guatemala lacks training in this specific area, my life completely changed when I was accepted into the Master of Advanced Studies in Medical Physics at ICTP. And moving to Trieste was a complete change of life in both my professional and personal life as well. And I became the first woman medical physicist from my own country. I pursued an international certification and then a PhD. Again, the first woman in my area. In medical physics, you don't always have to have a PhD in order to really be in the clinic. But I wanted to learn how to do more research in my area. And this is why I chose to pursue the PhD. But it's not always necessary to do so. And today my journey continues in Estonia. I have worked at the different universities here in Estonia, and I work as a medical physicist in the radiology department at Tartu University Hospital.
Fascinating story, Lucia, and to be one of the first women from your country, it's a great accomplishment. So is your day-to-day work, are you more in the labs doing experiments, or are you more working, with data and simulation on a computer environment?
Well, since I work in the clinical environment, I make sure that all the equipment, it's given the radiation that it's supposed to for its what it's intended for, not too much, not too little. If it's for diagnostic, we want good images. We work together with the radiologists so that the images are as they're supposed to be and improve the quality. But when I was working in radiotherapy, I was doing the same thing for radiotherapy equipment, but I was also doing plans. So I have been in both sides.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Lucia.
Thank you.
So let's move to Nana. So Nana, tell us about any role models that you had in your pathway to science, and tell us about your journey.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kate. Yeah, my internet was failing, but now it seems it's working. So I think it's a little bit similar for me that for Zainab and Lucia. So I would say my first role models as women pursuing a profession and dedicating part of their life to professional life were my mother and my grandmother, because my mother was an electric engineer, programming in these very old, big machines that were filling a room, and my grandmother was a pedagogue. And probably since then was the first time I saw that women were like dedicate part of their life to work or to a passion. So I've studied in many countries. So I would say that I have watched women doing research in Cuba, in Italy, in Germany, in Mexico, and many of the women I have found in the way are very inspiring for me. So, of course, we all admire Marie Curie, and I admire her a lot. So I would say that it's like a super impressive example of what you can accomplish in science. And in this sense, I always have read about her history and so on. And in my field of study, I would say that all Latin American theoretical physicists, we follow the Venezuelan physicist Ana Maria Font, that in fact she won an ICTP prize, and she has performed like excellent research. And among all these women I have found in the past, there is a collaborator of mine, just a little bit more senior than me, that is Yvonne Zavala from Mexico, that I had the pleasure to know in my PhD in Germany. And since then, we have been very good friends. So I'll say it's a mixed. thing. And I passed away. So I started in Havana, so in Cuba, which is my country. And there, first, when I was in secondary school, I started going to physics and math Olympiads. So it's interesting because so in my family there are many physicists, starting with my father, then my cousin, then me, then my brother. So for me, physics was not like a strange subject. So I've always have seen since I'm a kid a scientist discussing the problem. And so I knew that with physics, you can understand nature at a very deep level. So let's say, I would say secondary school, math and physics Olympians, they were like really like the place, so the moment where I really got excited about science. And then in high school, I continued a bit in this path. So in Cuba, you can like choose if you want to go to a high school that is more into the science direction. So in that time, before high school, I was studying also art, painting and so on, which I like also a lot. But at that point, I decided to turn a little bit more toward physics. So then I had the pleasure of studying the Bachelor and the Master degree in the University of Havana. There, the education in condensed matter physics is very strong. So I learned condensed matter there. And then I went to ICTP. So because I was at that time like very interested in the early times of the universe and in the unification of forces. And then I had the opportunity to go to ICTP Diploma. And after that, I could also like continue my studies in string theory in the University of Bonn. I did postdocs in University of Guanajuato, Mexico, and in Witwatersrand in South Africa. Also with mathematical physics and string theory groups. And then I work as a researcher and a professor in Mexico. This has been more or less my trajectory.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Nana. And can I ask you, what is there anything that excites you most about your field looking into the future? What is it that you're trying to kind of, what's like the next big discovery you'd like to be involved with?
Okay, yeah, this is a very nice question, Kate, and a very difficult one. I mean, basically, so at this point, so first, so we wanted to see what is beyond the standard model of particle physics. And so if you can reach this unification of all fundamental interactions, this was one thing that motivated me a lot. But of course, this mingles with the question where there is really we can understand quantum gravity. And string theory is a nice candidate for that, but we don't know yet if this is the definitive answer. As you know, in the experimental side, this is highly complicated, and but my approach is from theoretical physics. So I would say, so I hope to see something interesting coming up in the quantum gravity side. Now I'm very interested in some subfield that is called emergence, that in a way, so it could be that gravity is like a kind of emergent interaction. So this is
amazing, Nana. I mean, these are huge questions that you're trying to tackle. I love that. Thank you. So we're going to have a poll with everybody. So we're going to use some software called Slido. I'm going to go into the chat, and when it's there, you can open it, pressing the blue open button, and you can answer our question. And our question is going to be, who have been your role models in your scientific journeys? We're just going to wait for it to be shared in the group chat with our wonderful people. In the meantime, I'm just going to have a couple of following up questions, just brief ones, just while we're getting this poll in the chat. The first one is very quickly to Zainab. Was it difficult living in Europe and doing theoretical high energy physics? I mean, high energy physics always sounds a bit tricky, but how did you find living in Europe and doing high energy physics?
I think it's a very good question and would let me to open up some discussion that would be helpful for many who wants to pursue theoretical high energy physics or some abstract science. The fact is that in research, particularly in abstract research like theoretical high energy physics, we are usually working on some models, and we propose them for a candidate. For example, the pseudo particles that I was telling you about. But they are hard to be really scientifically proved to be correct. And this is the case for many of theoretical high energy physics and theoretical work in research. And that makes it difficult for any researcher, either their PI or professor, if they're looking for fund, in order to be able to continue their models or their research or articles. For example, string theory or many of the other theories that others are working on that are very difficult in order to investigate and like sort of convince government to like find some funding that researcher can continue. So I've seen this a lot, that many of my outstanding colleague PhD students, they had a very amazing background. They were already European. When they go higher, when they're applying for postdoctoral researcher or for a job, they face in a difficulties because the funds are limited, the positions are limited, and the competition is very high. That means that if you want to pursue this, you have to be aware that there could be difficulties on finding job or continue the research that you are interested. And particularly in Europe, because the demand is very high, and it's not because of your background, not because of how strong you are, because the competition is very high and the funding is very low. That's why towards the end of my PhD, I've decided to improve my skills and computational in order to be open to more jobs. But fortunately, I'm still in research because of the computational skill that I have. But that made me also quite a good candidate for also doing something out of academia.
Thank you, Zainab. Absolutely fascinating story. We've got a few more follow-up questions, but I just want to move on to Lucía. So do you continue filling in the Slido with your role models? I can see some coming up now, including Professor Salam, Mary Curie. Fantastic. Keep putting those in. So coming to you, Lucía. So this is International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and we do know that women are still a minority group in the scientific community. I wanted to ask you if you encountered any barriers from being a woman in science and how you overcame them in your career.
Very interesting question. I will refer to mainly two aspects. There are many, but I will refer to two. And the first one is the expectation that we must meet a higher standard to receive even the same recognition as men. And I'm going to give you what happened to me. So when I first started working at the hospital, as I mentioned before, I was the first woman, first of all, just physicist before I earned my specialization. But when I started working, I was assumed to be a technician or a nurse around the department. So they questioned my role, like my abilities, and I had to repeatedly prove that I was qualified to learn to do the job the same as my male counterparts. And I'm not sure if they experienced the same thing when they started to work there, if they have to work their way to earn the trust of everybody else around it. And interestingly, when I started working in Estonia, I did not feel that at all. I did not experience this barrier. So maybe it was due to age, due to experience, I felt more confident, but probably because here there is a more egalitarian society. So there was a big difference. So this shows me that there are barriers, but they're not inevitable. Maybe some of them are cultural, but they can be overcome. And institutions definitely need to be willing to play part on these outdated perceptions, and of course, who are surrounding us. And then the second major barrier, especially in the global south, it's the belief that motherhood is incompatible with a scientific career. Too often, becoming a mother is seen like the end of the professional ambition. It doesn't matter in which career we are. But I'm here to say that that's not the truth. So I became a mother while I was pursuing my PhD. And what helped was that there were policies in place. So in many places, especially like in Latin America, there's the belief that when a woman becomes pregnant while holding the scholarship, that's it. The scholarship is lost and that the dream is over. But it's not. It's just that there should be these policies. And when I was doing my PhD, there were these supportive policies. And policies can always improve. And they were not the best, but they were good enough to allow me to put my scholarship into pause, enjoy the motherhood and my baby, and then retake it. And motherhood has not been an obstacle for me to be a scientist. Actually, it has been my motor. My daughter is my motor because motherhood has given me skills that I didn't even know I had. It had me resilience, time management, empathy, patience. So when institutions support women, then modern science do not compete. And just to finish, I'm just going to share that I'm very proud that today I participated in my first scientific outreach activity for children here in Estonia. I made it in where my daughter goes to school, but I did it in Estonian. And I'm very proud of it because Estonian is so difficult. So just here to show that there are ways to overcome barriers, even the language, in order to continue to do science.
Thanks, Lucia. I mean, Estonian, that is probably the most impressive thing I've heard all day. Amazing. And really inspirational stories. I think it's really important to keep stressing the idea that, of course, women and motherhood and scientific pathways are all interconnected and perfectly possible for all young people. Thank you so much. Nana, maybe I ask you a little bit about your experience specifically as a woman in your field. Do you feel there was any kind of barriers you needed to overcome, or any advice that we can give to young people today from your experience?
Okay, thanks, Kate. So yeah, barriers, I think there are many that have already been mentioned. So I will mention a few of them. So one thing is that the interaction with male colleagues, so sometimes it can be problematic. I mean, not in an explicit way, but basically just from the different way that men and women we have to discuss, to present our ideas. So it can happen like many times that your opinion is not like heard or very much paid attention to. And it can also happen that you are left out of projects or discussions because of the different way of interacting. So it has happened to me, not all the time. I mean, I cannot complain, let's say. So I have had many nice collaborations also with men. And of course, all my advisors have been men from the Bachelor, the Master, the Diploma, and the PhD. And I have also had good interactions with male students during the PhD. But so I would say that this is a big barrier. I mean, that sometimes you are not very much heard or taken very seriously. But let me say something. I mean, so it's not a thing that only happens to women. There are other kinds of discrimination in science by country, by race, by institution. So it can happen like many times, as you are not from Princeton or you are not coming from the highest place, people also not hear what you're saying. So I would say that the advice, what you ask in these occasions, is that you really have to speak up. I mean, you really, if you are convinced about your scientific idea, about what you are thinking and developing, So you have to say it, and you have to say it very clearly. I say that to stay quiet is not a good option. So this I would say is the fundamental thing. So another thing that Lucia was mentioning was motherhood, but I mean, I will make it wide. So let's say friendship, relationships, family, they are hard to harmonize with the scientific path. But this is also a problem that male scientists also face. Of course, as a woman, it can be more complicated because, I mean, in terms of family and motherhood. And this is something that has to be, let's say, analyzed in science, because it's a problem that many scientists are facing. And finally, I would say that another problem could be the way that society looks at scientists, at physicists in particular. That is my case. So it could be that you have like opposition for your own family and people close to you, because they say, okay, I mean, this path, maybe you cannot make it. So it's going to be difficult for you. And there, I would say you can really like also act. So if you are convinced, you have to continue. I mean, my family, I didn't fence. I mean, for example, even just in high school, when I was going to physics Olympiads, I had male friends from my classroom that were a little bit skeptic. I say, oh, come on, I mean, how could you ever make a medal in a national contest? I mean, you are a girl. I mean, what is that? And then let's say I couldn't care less about this because I had my mom and my dad. But for other people, I realized that this kind of attitude can be difficult. But yeah, so you have just to react and continue and speak.
Thanks, Nana. Yeah, I think that's a really important message, isn't it? Like building that confidence about yourself and reaching out to support networks, I think, is really important. Thank you for your stories. Zainab, maybe I can move to you and ask you about your experiences during your pathway. How did you overcome any barriers that you came across?
Thank you, Kate. I mean, I would like to talk a bit more general about the barriers that women face globally, particularly that I'm coming from a country that currently are struggling for educating girls, and they have a societal issue of making women very, very hard to continue their education, particularly in Afghanistan. And I think this kind of issues, we have to talk more about it and find a solution for discrimination against boys and girls. This is one of the things that I'm currently working with whatever we can do through Physics Without Frontier program or other programs that we could help reach out to those girls either by online education or encouraging them. So I think this kind of issue is globally. Sometimes there are girls that their families or the government do not let them to pursue their education. And these kind of platforms are very useful to discuss and try to find solution for this. Another thing that I would like to mention, because we are here honestly to make the situation better and be open about our part as a female, is that I think women in general are suffering from self-esteem. They themselves might have issue of believing in themselves because they always compare themselves with male counterpart. And I think making this kind of platforms in order to discuss about the fact that we have our own way of pursuing science. We have our own nature of making improvement in science. Like we're not like many of the men that are usually trying to compete with one another on achieving some sort of qualitative or quantitative goals in the life. They are more of nature of collaboration, and that's actually very much in need for scientific development. And women can bring this in the room and can improve that, and we can proceed in science with the collaboration of both of female and male. Also, I would like to mention very openly that women's psychology and biology is completely different from men when they're working, when they're thinking, their emotional, their different phase of like menstrual period. This kind of things should be discussed. We shouldn't be ashamed of saying that we are somehow a little bit have difficulty to function through in a particular days of the months, and this has to be talked about. Male partnering colleagues, they should know, they should be aware, and they should respect, and they should understand, and do not judge women based on their psychology or their biology. And I think in general, we need also a female community to support one another, because I had a friend that she was usually in a room that was male, and it was very hard for her to be able to function, because when you see more female around you as a female, you feel more calmer and you feel more connected. And I think it's important that we encourage female, that you're not alone, we are together, and we also make this community to together to build a science where humanity can develop and can learn more about nature.
Oh, can I just add something? I found it so interesting, Zainab, because recently I was just talking to other female scientists from my own country, and we were discussing how important this is about menstruation, because when you do field work, this is really important, because there are days, as you mentioned, that are functioning, and we need other types of support that sometimes is very difficult to have the supervisors understand or other colleagues. So if I was talking to this friend that is doing work in Africa, and there were places where there was really not even access to toilets, to water, to soap. So how can we help the women in that area and the ones who are flying to help them? Also, whenever there's field work, wherever, Antarctica. So I think it's something that we need to be able to share and to be with other women. So thank you for sharing it, Zainab.
Thank you, Lucia, for discussing more about this. Yeah, I completely agree that we should really speak up and show who we are and how we should be treated, particularly when we are in the scientific community. For example, if at some point we're not able to present properly, or we cannot do that, we should be able to openly talk about it. We shouldn't be ashamed of our supervisor or a colleague to say, look, I'm in my menstrual period, I cannot do this today, maybe a few days later I'm more energetic. And that's, I think, part of our support to let women to nourish the way they are.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Lucia. Some really important points, and I think these are things that can really help change the shape of science to welcome and encourage more young women into the field. So thanks so much for bringing these up. We're going to move on to our next poll. So back to our Slido, we want to hear from all the participants here. The next question is about, after hearing some of these stories from some of our panelists, how do you feel about your future pathway? So that's just come up in the Slido now. You can have a think about, do you feel encouragement towards your pathway? And just while you're filling that in, I just want to come back to Lucia about her career and work now in medical physics. There's been a question from one of the participants about them being in nuclear engineering, but they're very interested in medical physics. And is that something that they can transition into? And is medical physics something that you can transition in from other areas of science?
Yes, absolutely. The first medical physicists in Guatemala were actually they were nuclear physicists, and then they made the transition because we learned about the interaction of radiation into matter. But we're going to focus it to the human body and how the radiobiology works. So, of course, and we can always learn. And what I want to also mention that this does not only apply to medical physics. Sometimes life is just so dynamic that we need to, tweak and change a little bit of the paths, and that's okay. So if you're interested into joining the medical physics area, I sincerely encourage you to do so, because I have found really my passion there. But if you don't try it, then you're not going to know, oh, this is not for me. And you can always go and then, continue somewhere else. So it is possible to transition. Plus, all skills are needed also. So.
Exactly. I think it's a really up and coming field in many countries that are asking for many young people to come into the field. So that's really nice advice. Thank you, Lucia. So I just wanted to read out this very nice message from Shaya Rahman, who has said in the chat that they want to thank all panelists for the time. They're saying how they are amazed in awe of the panel, and they're talking about their grandfather, who is many of our role models. I know Professor Salam, and how he truly believed in women and how they belonged in science. And at the time, how many maybe did not share his view, but he really worked hard for all of us. We're all very grateful to Salam for his work, and how he encouraged Aisha's mother to pursue her PhD. So thank you so much for that message, and that's all very nice for us all to hear. Back to the poll. So how excited are you about your future pathway? Well, we have about 77% very excited, 23% somewhat excited, but there's 0% not sure. So at least you are dedicated with your decision there. Very nice. I also just wanted to come quickly back to Zainab. There's another nice question in the chat about any tips you might have for people wanting to apply for postgraduate research. I don't know if you have something that you can share.
So my tip or advice is that do it before you have to do. You have to be prepared, and you have to apply widely, and also build connection. Like, don't be scared of talking with a colleague who is a bit superior to you, and write to them. You never know what comes out, and always be curious about their work. And when you approach them, be very prepared what you want and what they do. And my particular advice is that always when you go forward, always do like a chain. In a sense, where you are now, try to find somebody who can help you to reach to other points, other step in your career. For example, if you are now working with your supervisor or somebody that you think that can help you to reach to another position, show your work. Be good at that point. You will get a good recommendation. They would guide you to a position that they can hire you. And many of these postdoctoral research positions are through recommendation and knowing one another, because the pool of requests for research is very high and demanding. Unless the professor already know the other professor or the work of the person that they are doing, it's one of the strategies that you can use, you can build while you are in your current career. And then from that point, you would build your next step. This is my particular advice, but I think there are many other things that you can benefit and you can proceed in your career.
Thank you, Zainab. No, lots of very important points there for young people hoping to pursue science. Nana, maybe I can come to you. Do you have advice for some of the young people here today about how to go about building a career in science?
Okay, yeah, this is a good and important question, because, well, maybe at some point we think about science or our passion in life. I mean, the things that we dedicate to as a romantic, let's say, enterprise. But you also have to be realistic about making it a career. So I would say that you cannot be just, let's say, happy with doing a lot of effort, studying, having some talent that helps you in the way, but you have really to interact with people around. And for that, I mean, I would quote a very good theoretical physicist that said once to a friend of mine that physics is also social science. And it sounds very strange to many of us. But the point is that you really have to go present your ideas, make talks, discuss with people, try to search for new collaborations, try to search for new opportunities. So it's not enough with working hard and working alone. And this is something that you are like learning during the way. So I would say this is one important advice. And so I wanted also to mention a thing that it's connected to the whole panel, is that, of course, as a female and also other minorities, we can face problems. But so we always to be, let's say, thinking that science is very much benefited from variety. So it's very nice to have people from diverse backgrounds, diverse countries, races, female. And now I will quote James Gates, she's a very distinguished theoretical physicist, Afro-American, that he had various interactions with Salam, Salam that we so much admire. And I heard him saying something that it came up once from his interaction with Salam, and it is that when Afro-American physicists enter really into the field, maybe something like jazz can happen. And this, I think, extends for all, let's say, underrepresented group in science. And so I will finish this part with this, Kate.
Thanks, Nana. I love that. I love that jazz can happen from bringing in different people from science. Thanks, Nana. Lucia, can I come to you? Do you have any particular advice for young people looking to come into science?
Well, I very much agree with what Nana and Zainab said. That pretty much covers it. But I would encourage to seek environments and mentors, role models, but that they allow you to grow. I think that, like I was saying in the first part, this is one of the reasons why I don't have a specific role model. Of course, I admire Marie Curie, but my mother and my sister have instilled in me some really, really abilities that by myself, I don't have them. So when you're in conferences, I have met interesting women and that they have inspired me. So we can be a source of inspiration, even though we don't realize about it. But we have to seek this environment and speak up. And one of the things that I have learned about these women, it's also to be able to take up the space. Because sometimes in these conferences and these areas, you're doing a lot of networking and, maybe you're just a student and you're just like, oh, maybe I'm trying to be small. But on the contrary, learn to take up the space. And actually, one of the advices that are giving us to a lot in medical physics is that the best collaborations and networking happen after the conferences. So go to these dinners and to just talk to others, because even though if you're a student, you're going to be just listening, even if you don't understand what they're talking about, just emerging into the field, understanding, just like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe this is not so interesting for me. Just seek the environment and try to talk to the different variety of people that, as Nana said, there's so much value in diversity. So we're part of that diversity, and just know that science, it's a path for you as well. We cannot hear you.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you. Yeah, I did not unmute myself. There's a couple of questions, Lucia, maybe I could just follow up with. So some people are asking about how do you explore and learn about different areas in physics? They're saying it's very vast, there's so much to do. How do you find this pathway? I'd like to ask you and then also ask Nana afterwards, please.
Well, in my case, what I did was just going, usually there's scientific outreach done in different places. Now with Zoom, with Teams, it's even more. So just go and participate to those, like today. that you came here to listen, and we're hoping that our stories are inspiring to shape your own. So just go out there, go out of these the comfort zone and seek just other areas, because indeed physics is everywhere. So maybe you'll find something in theoretical, or maybe you think it's in the lab, but just go and explore what is in your community, but also online.
Thank you. And Nana, can you add to that?
Yeah, so it's very good. First point, I agree with Lucia. So here, more talks, search for different sources of information, maybe read science outreach books about different fields, because then you can get to know if you like it. So one thing is that sometimes now there are opportunities for summer stays. So maybe you are doing your bachelor and you can do like a summer stay in your university with one researcher, or in other universities, and maybe even in other countries, because for young people starting, there are many opportunities in this sense. So yeah, so move in this way.
Thank you. Zainab, maybe I can ask you this next question from Nadir. So this is a very nice question. He's discussing about how to encourage girls into STEM, and he's asking about what additional skills do teachers at high school level maybe need to encourage girls into STEM subjects. Is there any kind of aspects in communication or entrepreneurships or leaderships that we can communicate specifically to encourage girls?
Okay, I think, thank you for the question. I think one of the reasons that women show less interest on STEM globally could be more of the societal behavior. I would say this should be start from the very, very early childhood in the family, in the base. When they are, for example, buying a toy, usually boys are receiving car or something that they're supposed to fix. They're supposed to learn how it works. But for girls, we receive usually toys that they just can play and enjoy their beauty or things like this. If also girls from the early childhood was encouraged and encountered with something like more sort of wakening up their questioning part, their curiosity, the things that can help them to think more about how things work, or how we can understand even a small toy better than sort of stereotype of women to be just beautiful and just take care of their appearance. These kind of things, I think, something that we have to work from the base, from the society, to encourage them that they can think and learn about the universe. They can think about how things work and how they can contribute on the improvement of something small, even when they are very, very young. And also we should make more aware male partner about our nature, how we are functioning, how women are, and also encouraging women that you're not alone. There are a lot of other women that they pursue STEM and they are actually successful, and we should present them into the society, into events like this. And these kind of things would help women to be more courageous and do more contribution in science.
Thank you, Zainab. Some wonderful points there. Thanks so much. So we are getting near to the end of this session today. We're going to open our last poll, which is a word cloud for the participants. So we'd like you to, if you see the Slido coming up, so the question is, so I realise now actually it assumes the participants are all female. The question is, in one word, so just one word, sum up how you feel about being a woman in science yourself. Now, if you're not a woman yourself, maybe you could just say how you feel about women in science in general. Thank you so much. And in the last minutes, I'm going to very quickly ask each of the panelists for one last question, very brief, please. So starting with Lucia. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self, Lucia, what would that be?
That's just very interesting. You're making me think, because I can think of many. But believe in yourself. It's worth it. Going, because being away from the family, it's sometimes very difficult. But the support that they have given me, it's the best. So I would keep saying to myself, believe in yourself. It is worth it. Every step you make, even if you change direction, just keep going.
Thank you, Lucy. I think that's really important. And I really hope everyone really listens and hears those words. They absolutely will help you on your journey. We're getting some nice words coming through on our word cloud. These are including how do you feel? Empowered, inspired, awesome, strong, hopeful. These are really nice words. So thank you. Keep them coming. Let's go to Zainab. What is your one bit of advice you might give to your younger self?
As Lucy said, we have a lot of lessons through our path. There are many, but if I pick one, I would tell myself to be to enjoy the path and also be ready for anything that comes away. When I was doing theoretical high energy physics, I was thinking very much hard on myself, and I was thinking this is all my future, but it's not true. You never know what was going to happen 2 years, 3 years later, what scientific career or life will take you. Enjoy life, the moment. If there is an event, social event, you want to be with your friend in the weekend, do it, and know that as Lucia said, everything worth it, and you would learn through your career. And I wish everyone a very great, successful career.
Thank you, Zena. Thank you so much. And very quickly to Nana.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I agree with all of these nice final remarks. So it's hard to say one, but one thing would be like pay attention to your ideas, are your intentions. I mean, don't ignore them, even if they seem big. So try to follow them, to pursue them. And maybe I'd like to finish with something that is written in the ICTP library, that is a phrase by Einstein that said that imagination is more important than knowledge, that imagination encircles the world. Maybe at some point it seems to you are not very well prepared to go in one direction, but this may change, and you can get to understand things.
That's wonderful, Nana. Thank you. And thank you so much to all the panelists today. Really wonderful stories, advice. It's been really inspiring. Thank you also to all the participants today, also for participating in our panels, to all the female participants, but also to our male allies. We really appreciate having allies and having people from both male and female being engaged in these discussions. So we will leave you. Please do continue this discussion on the ICTP Global Science Portal. I will put up the QR code now, and we will say thank you and goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Kate.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Zainab. Thanks,
Bye.
Lucia.
Thank you, Nana, Lucia, Kate, everybody.
Nana, Kate, Zainab.
And thanks to all the participants.